China, Japan, Hong Kong, France. After traveling the world for a few weeks, our next guest is surprisingly bullish. He's even predicting a year-end rally for stocks should a deal come out of Europe this week. Joining me now on InsideTrack is Howard Ward, a portfolio manager at Gamco Investors, which manages more than $35 billion. So Howard, you went to Europe on this trip and you're still bullish. Tell us what you saw.
Well, I was in France, in Paris, and there are not a lot of overt signs of looming recession or slowdown or austerity in France. It's very much business as usual. I didn't sense any impending doom there.
I agree. I was there for G20 in Cannes, and the cafes were full.
Bustling.
All the luxury stores were jam-packed, and that's what Silvio Berlusconi said about Italy, too.
Busloads of Chinese tourists. And I was told that the Chinese are quietly acquiring property in France and businesses in France. And people lined up at some of the nicer hotels, waiting for seats to spend 25 to 30 euros for a single cocktail.
Huh. But you were also in Japan, and you were in China and Hong Kong as well.
Yes.
So what is your impression of the growth story there? It doesn't sound like you're expecting a hard landing.
Well, you know, it's a mixed bag. Hong Kong's economy right now is moving sideways. GDP last quarter was up 0.1%, but it's moving sideways at a very high level of activity. There's a lot of hustle and bustle going on there. We know there's a lot of IPOs lining up in the pipeline to come to market. So there's really a vibrancy to Hong Kong that you don't get in too many other places. And boy, it's a luxury retailer's paradise. You know, when I first saw the luxury, the degree and the saturation of luxury retailing in Hong Kong, I was like, well, wow, look at this. Isn't this great for these companies?
Five Chanel stores in a few blocks.
The second thought is, can it possibly get any better for these companies? And I think maybe not. Now, what surprised me when I left Hong Kong and went to Shanghai, first of all, my airplane to Shanghai was 75% empty, and I thought, boy, you know, that's a little strange. That's not what I was expecting. I arrive in Shanghai. This is a city, mind you, of 20 million people with the largest airport terminal that I have ever seen. It just goes on for, I don't know how many football fields in length, but it is massive. 1 o'clock on a Tuesday, and it's a ghost town. And my flight came in, and literally, there was just nobody there. There was not a single person in immigration at the baggage claim, where you have a long line of baggage carousels. The only flight coming in was mine. So maybe that's just the way it is at Tuesdays at 1 p.m. I don't know, but it struck me that, boy, it looks like a slowdown happening here.
Howard, you said that you are bullish on stocks if Europe can manage to hold things together. This is their big week. What makes you so confident that this time will be different?
Well, I think the markets are losing patience. You know, we saw some headlines last week in the newspapers alluding to companies preparing for the end of the euro. They weren't preparing for Greece leaving the euro or Italy leaving the euro. They were preparing for the end of the euro.
Well, that's sort of the same thing, isn't it?
Well, it is, and I think the realization has caught on that you really can't have a situation where you excuse one or two countries from the euro. They either stick together as a band of brothers or it's over. And I think what we've seen in the last couple of weeks, the last couple of days, is the bond market giving them, you know, the benefit of the doubt, because there was some comments last week alluding to a deal on a fiscal compact, and in exchange for that, the ECB would come in and be more aggressive in its help, and the markets are buying into that. If they fail to deliver this Friday, those bond markets are going to erupt, and those sovereign debt yields in Italy and Spain and elsewhere in Europe are going to go to new highs. And I think we're really, it's the end of the fourth quarter here. It's Tebow time for those people in Europe.
All right, Howard Ward. And it's U.S. equities you're bullish on.
U.S. equities, because it's going to be the only game in town if we can get over this hump with Europe.
All right, that is Howard Ward, portfolio manager at Gamco Investors. He is bullish on U.S. equities, and he even thinks that there will be progress made in this week's European summit.